in preparation for the Formnext 2024, which is a 3D printing expo in Frankfurt, Germany, I got an email from Elegoo. They invited me to visit their booth where they showcased their new lineup of 3D printers, which included the all-new Saturn IV Ultra 16K with a heated vat, and of course the Centauri Carbon, which is their first FDM Core XY printer, and which is the printer that we take a look at today, because after the Formnext, my contact asked me if I would like to test this machine, and I said yes, of course, send it over to me, I will run my tests with it and publish a video in a few weeks. And she said no, not that quick. We have to first sign an NDA that you don't publish any content about this machine before February 2025. And I said, okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more. But let's start with a disclaimer first. I got this machine from Elegoo for free, so I didn't got paid. I only got this machine, and this machine is a pre-production unit. So take my opinion on this with caution, because the machine that you order and get home could be different from this machine. Yeah, just to notice. And let's start with some specs. This machine has 256 cubed millimeters as a build volume. So that's the same like the X1C, the A1 and the P1S series from Bamboo. And yeah, as you can see, the print bed is not the same in size. It looks the same, as you can tell, because of this notch here and this notch down here, but it's not the same. This sheet is slightly bigger than the ones from Bamboo, so you can't quick swap them. On the one side we have a textured PEI sheet, and on the other side we have something like the epoxy sheet that Creality sends out with their machines. And I can tell you so far, this side works okay, this side works much better, especially if you print with PLA. I did print a lot of things with this, not only what you can see here on the desk, but a lot of Gridfinity bins that I produced for my workshop trolley here. And of course I did print some stuff that I can use here in the office or in the house. For example, this lovely looking lamp that I found on STL Flix, and this was actually one of the first things that I printed on this machine, and I think it did come out pretty gorgeous. The only thing that I have to mention are some artifacts that I have here in the waste mode part here in the upper part. But overall, this looks pretty much good, I think, for a machine that I just unboxed, plugged in and started printing. And then I switched from normal PLA to silk PLA, especially this G-Tech PLA that I got for testing. It's a dual color red and black filament, and I must say I've printed over a kilo right now with this filament, and it's looking pretty good, I must say. I didn't have any issue, even these fine strings here did come out pretty good. Of course, you have to trim your settings. I will put the settings that I use for this down below, as well as the links to both of these objects, so that you can download them yourself and print them yourself. With these objects, you get a manual where you can see all the print settings that you have to set up. Over on my German speaking channel, I did something called like a 100-day challenge for Fusion. So I designed a new part every day, some Gridfinity bins, and this lovely looking Coke can. And this Coke can is to be used in a car, because you can open it and then you have some compartments in here where you can store a remote control for your garage door or some coins or stuff like this. And you got another compartment below here. Why am I telling you this? Well, as you can see, it fits pretty well, and the tolerance on this is 0.2 millimeters. So it's pretty good, I guess. The top and the bottom part is printed in a PCTG in silver from the company called Novofil, which sits in Austria. And these parts were printed on the Bamboo Lab X1C. So it's a totally different printer with totally different tolerances, but they fit perfectly, as you can see here. That's quite impressive, I must say, for the first Core XY that Elegoo is presenting. And you get the machine for under $500, which is pretty nice, I must say. And one thing I didn't mention yet is that this is eSun ABS Plus. That means that you have to crank up your print bed and your nozzle to a certain temperature. which the Elegoo Centauri Carbon is also capable of. That means that you have 110 degrees on the print bed and 320 degrees on the nozzle, which is pretty good for this price point. But as I told you, there are some downsides. And one of the downsides begins on the outside, which means there is a filament sensor not in the print head, but on the outside. And that's pretty annoying because if you run out of filament, you're gonna waste something between 50 and 60 centimeters on filament, which is pretty much, I must say. And installing the filament sensor on the outside of the printer causes the price to drop. So I can understand why Elegoo did this, but I would like to see it more in the toolhead. When we are outside, we can take a look at the I/O ports of the machine. On the back side, we got the power inlet, and on the front, we got the USB. And as an interface for us as users, we got a gorgeous touch display. And I must say, okay, it's pretty good in relation to other printers I've tested on my German channel. For example, the FlashForge Adventurer 5M, which is a bit priced below this. But the display on this machine is much better, I can say you. It's quite as good as on the Bambu X1C or the K1C from Creality. But you don't want to control your machine all over the display. You mostly want to use it with your slicer and remote control it with your slicer. And I must say you that Elegoo did the thing that we don't like at all. It is copying Orca Slicer, putting an Elegoo logo on it, color it blue and call it the Elegoo slicer. Of course, there is an interface in the slicer with which you can control this machine remotely, but in fact it's an Orca slicer, so you can on Mac just go into the package, copy the config files for the Elegoo machines over to Orca Slicer and can then set up your Orca Slicer with this printer. But there's the twist. You don't have Elegoo Link because this machine is not running Clipper. We get to this in a moment. This machine is not running Clipper, which means that we have no connection method. That means, okay, we can only export our G-code to USB and then plug in the USB stick here in front, start the print shop manually, and that's not what we want. So I pleased Elegoo that they maybe do some official merge from their own slicer to Orca Slicer so that we can use this machine with Orca Slicer even remotely. That would be great to see because everything else I like on this machine. There are two more points that I like to share with you. They're somewhat mediocre, not a showstopper at all. But the first thing is the noise level. I mean, we are used to that our machines like the X1C, the K1C, the FlashForge Adventurer, that they are all noisy and they are all something around 70 or 80 decibel. But this machine makes no difference. And you notice this because the side walls are not structurally supported in any way, which causes vibrations. And these vibrations do cause this noise level. That means I did design and print some stabilizations for the side walls. And as you can hear, this side is much more dampened than on the other side. And I even did go one step further and bought this isolation mat here. This is sort to put behind your heating radiator at home to insulate your home better. This reflects the heat and keeps it inside your home. And so we can use this to reflect the heat and keep it inside the enclosure. And the padding on the back side keeps the noise level down. And believe me, it's quite relieving to see that I could manage to drop the noise level from something about 70 decibel to something below 70 decibel. It's not much, but it's a bit. And of course, the rattling noise of the sidewalls are reduced, especially through these things here. I used some VHB tape to achieve this, and I like this solution pretty much. I sent an email to Elegoo and explained them why I did this and how I solved this problem, and they said, okay, they will forward this solution to engineering, and maybe you get a machine where this is already installed or fixed. The second thing that I thought about was the camera, and this camera itself is okay. Yeah, the only thing that I have to mention is the lighting, because you see the A1 Mini over there, it has terrible lighting. I must admit, the lighting on this is pretty much useless. So it's the same like here. If you turn on the camera on the first version of this printer, which was a pre-production unit with a pre-production firmware on it, I can tell you, if you turned off the light, the image of the camera was better than with it. They fixed it in post with a new firmware update, of course, and yes, the image is getting better and better. I mean, this could be fixed really easily. If you take, for example, this small light here and put this here, you can easily see inside through the tainted door. And because the glass door up here on the roof is also tainted, it causes that the printer is inside pretty much dark, and a small light won't help at this point. Last but not least, I want to show you something on the printer which I was surprised to see and which I'm curious to see what Elegoo is coming up next with, because you got a poop chute on the back. This poop chute indicates that there might be some kind of filament system like the AMS, the MMU, the ACE, or what they are called at all, is coming in the near future. I don't know of any system right now. I will be in contact with Elegoo as soon as they release something, and I hope that I will get my hands on a review unit so that I can show you with the printer how the unit will work. And of course, as soon as Elegoo gives me a note that they will release something like this, I will try to get a review unit so that we can test this here in the studio. In terms of firmware, I did also run some tests on this machine. Better said that I did write a G-code file with the help of Meteor. And all of you who don't know Meteor, he is the core maintainer of Mainsail. Mainsail is the web interface for Clipper, which is an operating system for printers like the Voron or the T100 that I have down here. And Meteor did help me to write a G-code file where we have in there some specific commands that normally only Clipper understands. This was the idea because of the situation with the K1 release, where Creality told everybody, no, there is no Clipper on there, but it was. And with this G-code, we can actually test if a machine runs Clipper without hacking via SHA into the machine. The G-code contains some specific commands. I put you the G-code file in the description below. You can test it by your own. And the only command that I can say that it really caused an action on this machine was raising the printhead temperature to 150 degrees, which might give a hint that there is Clipper on there, but we are not certain yet. So I tend to believe that Elegoo didn't copy Clipper and just didn't tell us about it. I don't know. You can write your comments about this in the comment section below. And with that said, I'd like to thank you for listening to my horrible English. I would like to see if you smash that like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to my channel, and we see us next time. Happy printing and ciao.